Okay, good. Okay, so the first thing, obviously, just a couple of weeks left before you come. So, I really appreciate how much work you have done, preparing um, your documents, um, preparing yourselves, going through the whole application process, organizing your travel. So all these things, great achievements. Okay, great achievements. And obviously, when you're coming in, that's going to be kind of the second stage. So everything you've done up to now has been fantastic, and congratulations. I really appreciate that. And then we'll be starting with the next stage, which is when you arrive. Okay. And obviously, I'm going to give you a few challenges and stuff. At the moment, as you know, we will be meeting on the 26th of September in Madrid at the Generator Hostel. Okay. This year, the person who's going to be providing orientation is one of our ex-volunteers who lives in Valencia. His name's Kudzi. Okay. Great guy, who'll give you a lot of information. He'll be leading the session. I'll just be popping in to say hello, and then I will actually come and see you at your individual placements, okay, in the first 4 to 8 weeks. So, doing really well that way. So a couple of things we do have to do. I know that you've all sent your arrival details, which is fantastic. Thank you. I know I'm waiting for about 3 or 4 people still to fill in their details for the hostel. Okay. So those people who've booked the hostel accommodation and the VIA volunteers, you have to fill in the form. I sent you the link through the group. Okay, so make sure you fill that in. Okay, that is information I just have to pass straight on to the hostel itself. So they've got your details. Okay. And then maybe you want to start thinking and joining amongst yourselves and discussing if you're coming into Madrid and when you're coming into Madrid. How are you going to get to the hostel? Are you coming in at the same time as other people? Madrid's got great public transport. So you've got obviously got taxis, you've got Uber, you've got Metro, and you've also got what we call the Cercanías. The Cercanías is the commuter service, which works very, very well. And there's a commuter service train which goes from the airport right into the city centre, which is very good, very cheap, like €2 or something. It's very, very good. So maybe you want to start thinking, how are you going to get to the Generator Hostel and discuss it amongst yourselves? My advice is that the commuter trains and the metro are absolutely fantastic if you're traveling with just a rucksack, backpack. If you're traveling with heavy suitcases, it's not. Okay, it's not ideal. And actually, taxis can be quite expensive. If there's 4 people traveling, it's not so expensive because they have a flat fare of about €33, which is actually reasonable. If that's taking you into the middle of Madrid, it's only like €7.50 or €8 each. Okay, the advantage with a taxi, of course, if depending on how many cases and bags you've got, you can see the taxi and you know they're going to fit. The disadvantage sometimes of calling Uber is that, a very small car turns up and it doesn't have room for everybody. So anyway, think about that and discuss it together. You've got each other's contacts on the group chat. So, so please, just think about how you're going to be doing that. We will have a meeting next week as well, and I'll send you through written instructions and everything. I'm literally just waiting for those last 4 people to fill in their details on the rooming sheet, so I can send that to the generator, and then they will send me a registration number for each person, which means when you get there, they'll have the locker and your bed already assigned.
Nice.
Okay. Okay. So let's go on. I've been looking. The reason I really wanted to talk to you today, we haven't spoken for over a month. There's Chantal. That's nice. Chantal's coming in, one of our last minute applicants, together with Sophia. Okay, Sophia. And Julia's also coming in. So Chantal.
You didn't want him to see it?
Okay.
Because the other papers.
Okay. So anyway, somebody was talking there in the background. So anyway, let's go on. So as I said, I'm just waiting for you, please, the few last people to send me your details or to fill in the online form for the Generator Hospital in Madrid. Also, you should have received a link to upload your insurance documents. Okay, there should be a link to upload your insurance documents, which should have come straight from our online tool. Okay, so that could be an automated message. If not, I will send that to you again. Remember, if you don't have insurance, you won't be allowed to start. Okay, so we need to see your travel insurance before you get here. It's very, very important. And the other thing to be sent back, just 2 people, I believe, would be the online police record check form, which you should have got from Laura. Okay, so I was just filling in your details. I had some funny questions like your mum's name and your dad's name. She sent you that a few weeks ago. So there's a couple of people who haven't done that. The reason we have to do that is that everybody has to have a clean police record check in Spain, even if you've never been here. Okay, so we do it on the same day. We'll do it on Friday, the 26th, when you arrive. We just need all those sheets to be filled in. We will print them off, and Kudzi will take you to the police station. It takes about 5 minutes. They will give you a certificate, or they will give you a link, an online link for you to download the certificate. Okay, so that's for anybody who's going to be working with children in Spain. That's absolutely what's the word? Compulsory. Okay, but we'll get you to that in the first day. Possibly, if you're not going to be in Madrid, you're coming in very late, we can get that to you. We can get that for you if you're in Valencia or wherever you're going to be further up. Okay, good. In any case, let's go on, because the reason I wanted to speak today was because also I've seen a lot of your presentations, and generally they've been very good. But I think there's just something I want to show you, I want to go over again, which I think is really, really important. Okay, so can you see this? Remember, if you've got any questions, let me know. Okay, if you've got any questions, keep them until the end, or you can write them in the chat box and we'll look at them right at the end. Okay, so the first thing was when we were talking about school and the things you're going to do at school. Okay, really important. Things, we spoke about this before. What kind of things can you do at school? You can do storytelling, giving instructions, speaking practice, playing games, presentations, extracurricular activities, exam preparation. Those are some of the things you're going to be doing at school, okay, depending on the age. Now, normally storytelling would be something you would do with small children. However, storytelling itself is becoming something which is being promoted in the world of business for meetings. So the idea and practicing telling stories is very, very good. Okay, very good idea. It allows you to see if the students are listening and to see if they're understanding. Okay, speaking practice, playing games, etc. So we spoke particularly about the presentations, and the exam preparation as two of the things. So if you remember, with the exam preparation, I will get this material to you. With the exam preparation, we were talking about set scripts or material where you are going to have, and this is very important, very controlled conversation practice with a small number of students. Okay? And if we said this is our example, we've got this picture of the seaside, with the sea and the sky and birds, and there's a mountain and a rock and a starfish and a lighthouse, and waves and sand and the shore. Now, we look at the picture and we think it's actually not very interesting, or there's not very much. But if we start to think about all the words that we could generate, and then we think about all the language we can generate just from this picture, we'll find it's actually a lot richer than, let's say, for example, reading a text. When children are reading a text, they're not thinking about meaning. All they're thinking about is word by word by word. Okay? Am I saying it correctly? Probably not. And when you're correcting them as they read through a text, they're not really picking it up, unless they've seen that word 5 or 6 or 7 times before. So what we want to do is focus on the visuals. Okay? And again, depending on the age of the student, we would start off with something very simple like show me the sea, show me yellow. Okay? Those they don't even need a verbal response. That is literally with their finger, they're just showing you where the sea is, or they're showing you something which is yellow. That's the most basic. Then we can start testing their vocabulary. What color is the sea? Okay, they say green, they say blue, that's absolutely fine. Well, we don't need them to say the sea is blue. They're just blue or green. They've understood the question, which is really important. Can you see a star? Yes. Where is the star? Now, if we're lucky, they might say it's on the beach, it's on the sand, it's near the sea, it's in the corner. They might say these things, but they might just point to it. Okay, but we're building, okay? And then we're saying, can you spell star? This obviously a little bit older. It's not with 3-year-olds or 4-year-olds, but maybe with 6 or 7-year-olds, they are starting to spell. And then we're giving them the gift. The gift, what's the reward? After they've been through these parts, you say, draw a blue star. Wow. Kids love drawing, okay? So draw a blue star. Fantastic. And now let's put a name to it. We've got star. That's the most basic thing we can do with a photograph. Now, if you imagine you're with a group of 5 or 6 children and you're doing it together, and this activity is going to take you about 15 minutes, which is about as much time as you want to spend alone with a small group of students. Remember, the group of students have been taken out of the main classroom. Right? So this is a fantastic activity just for infant students. And this is based on what they would have in an English exam. An English exam would be, a spoken exam anyway, would be based on general information, which is just, can you tell me your name? What day is today? Can you spell your name? Tell me about your family. What's the weather like? What's your favorite game? Something like that. So what's your favorite sport or food or something like that? So personal information. Then it would be focusing on an image. And finally, it would be something like a role play. Okay? So you might say to the kids, okay, you want to buy an ice cream. And I am the ice cream seller. Okay. And have a little dialogue. That's the most basic. If we were doing this with primary, okay, we're getting a little bit more sophisticated. Do you like the beach? What can you do here? When do you go to the beach? Okay, now, don't draw a blue star. Draw your family on the beach. Okay, and they're going to take 15 minutes to do that. And then if we're going to use the same image with secondary, okay, we're not going through the basic questions. We're asking them to describe what they see. Why do people go here? Can you tell me about the time you went here? What kind of holidays do you like? So we're now going like abstract thinking with something which is connected to this, but it is not this, okay? And what's your dream holiday? Now, a dream holiday, absolutely fantastic. You could have two students, two older students discussing that together, and you can give them instructions. Where would you go? How would you go? Where would you stay? How long would you go for? What would you do? Who would you go with? What would you need to take with you? So you're giving them 7 or 8 different instructions and asking them to discuss with a friend. Now that is autonomous, independent speaking in English. And that's really, that's the kind of gold. That's the gold standard. Once they're doing that, they're speaking to each other meaningfully in English. That's when you say, oh, I've done my job, you know, take it away, keep talking, okay? Right. So there we go with our speaking and so on. With the presentations, we said, you know, these were some of the ideas, the presentations, you and your world, your countryside, music, animals, languages, and your family. Right. We said there's a few things we need to take into account. I looked at your presentations. I loved your presentations because I can see you've put work into them and they will all be useful. The only thing I would say is don't worry about teaching English. What you want to do is speak English, and you want the kids to listen to English and learn some words, but words which are meaningful within the presentation. So whether it's about food or whether it's about your country or your family or your community, that's absolutely fine. Okay, but we don't need to be showing them, for example, this is ice cream, it is cold. Okay, so this is coffee, it is hot. It would be good if you said, you know, if your country is really famous for ice cream or for chili peppers or for some other thing, yes, that's in the context of something we want to share with the students, right? But not necessarily abstract things which we're just bringing in, okay? So when we're talking about the presentations, what you need to think about, and you've got time still to make some changes and do some more if you want to, is think about who is it for? Who is the presentation for? It's not for me, okay? And I know some of your presentations are beautifully done. And I said, wow, this looks like an application and not necessary. Target language. What are we practicing? We're practicing typical things from your country or from your life. That's good. Language practice. What are we getting the kids to do, the students? What are they meant to be doing with this language which you're sharing with them? Yeah. And in order to do that, we're going to have tasks, games. How are those going to be organized? So have you got a script, you know, to go with the presentation? Because what you don't want to be doing is show a presentation on the wall and then just reading what is written there. Okay, that's already done. Well, you've already written that, you've gone through the effort. And that's really important. For every slide that has got text, you need to duplicate that slide. Listen, you need to duplicate that slide and have the same slide with no text, just visuals. And then the second time they see that slide, it's got the text. Because we want them to be listening to you. That's good listening practice. And then If you want, they can see what you've been saying, but we don't want them to get confused or to think that they're meant to be reading and listening at the same time. Because people don't normally do that. They do one or the other. Okay? That's quite important. Okay? What's the outcome? What do we want them to do? What do we want them to do with it? You know, just remember it. Are they going to remember anything? They might only remember one thing or two things, you know, and that's absolutely great. But it's going in there. It's going in. It's being absorbed. Okay? And finally, where are you going to store this? How are you going to take this to school? Literally, how are you going to take it with you? And that's a very, very important thing. So when we're talking about this, who's it for? Is it for primary, secondary, or infants? Okay, really important, because your presentation should be adaptable. Once you've got your presentation and you've used it the first time, and you've seen that it works, then try to adapt it. So, oh gosh, tomorrow I've got a fourth year secondary school class. Well, I've just done this with a bunch of 6-year-olds. I wonder how I could change it. I wonder what I could do to make it more appealing to the older kids, right? Target language. Well, we spoke animals, verbs, weather, whatever it is. One of you did a beautiful one about your daily routine. Yeah, verbs, lots of verbs there. Yeah, language practice. What we want to do, what we want the kids to do finally is to talk. We want the kids to talk. We want them to listen to you, but ideally we want them to talk. Okay? During a presentation, they're going to be listening. Tasks and games, remember, they're going to be really easy to follow. And the easiest kind of games or tasks are spelling, drawing, or having a quiz. Okay, so spelling, drawing, having a quiz. Making lists, yeah, your favorite, this or that. That's also important. Outcome, again, can the kids remember anything? What have they taken in? They definitely know a little bit more about you and your cats or your dogs or your home and so on. And where is it stored? On a USB stick, if you please. Old style, USB stick. One of these, all right, with a connector which goes into a USB. Don't think for a moment that you can bring it on your iPhone and go into class and imagine that somebody has the right cable, because nobody's ever got the right cable. Okay, so make sure you've got a USB stick so you can physically carry around all your presentations and all the work you want to do. Yeah? Internet connection, which we depend on so much, is unreliable. Okay, unreliable. I can tell you, when you need it, you haven't got it. And particularly in schools, you know, if you had anything, if let's imagine you did a presentation which had a video embedded, which was from YouTube, let's say, that would not be shown, because most of the schools, their Wi-Fi has got a firewall and it will not allow access to specific designated websites or material if it thinks there's anything there which is a bit odd. Okay, so don't rely on streaming, okay, or using stuff which is on the cloud. So let's look, please. All right, last time I promised we're going to see a presentation. Okay, I'm only going to show you 3 slides of the presentation. Okay, but this is a presentation. I sent you a link using AI. I was looking on Monday and wow, there are so many. There are so many tools which will prepare presentations for you. And there's no problem if you want to use artificial intelligence to prepare your presentations. Fine, as long as you review, as long as you add some, you know, something which is relevant to you and your life, or something you're able to explain, that's absolutely fine. So I did one the other day and it was fine. The only problem was you couldn't see the images. So if I had finished that, I would have had to look for the images myself. But it definitely cut things down. Okay. It definitely cut things down now, or time down. I'm using PowerPoint. You can use Google Slides, whatever, as long as you can download it. You can use PDF, anything which is going to hold things in their place. Okay. So number one, here we go. Here's, wow, Australian animals. Okay. I use PowerPoint. I found this map. PowerPoint suggested, yeah, present it like this. Wow, that's fantastic. Thank you. All right, so that took a lot of time away from me. Australian animals. So we know, and the kids know what's in store. We can already see there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. There's a number of animals there. That's beautiful. Yeah. So this is a very rich image, which can be, which tells you about the country, and different things about the country, not only the animals. And it's also got a very clear title, so people are going to focus on it. Right. Now, we can start. I'm going to talk about Australian animals. This, I want you to see this. This is the slide which the kids would see only with the photograph and that. That's all I've got. Okay? So this is your script. So your first slide is just going to be a photograph and one word. You haven't even got the word there. Okay? And this is your script. Listen and spell. What does a dingo eat? What color is a dingo? So we've got 3 tasks for them. They're looking at the photograph. I think the first thing you're going to say is, what is this? And they will say, it's a dog, it's a wolf, it's a fox. You come and say, it's a dingo. Okay, it's a dingo. Now, or however you say it. And then get the kids to repeat it, dingo, dingo, dingo. And you can do some oral practice there. You can say, is it a dog? No, it's a dingo. Is it a cat? No, it's a dingo. Is it a kangaroo? No, it's a dingo. Again, you go around the class and everybody's getting a chance to speak. Okay? And so you're going to ask them the questions to listen and spell dingo. It's Dingo. Okay? Get a pencil. Everybody, you're going to write it down. Listen. Dingo. This should be a very easy word for Spanish kids. Okay? Let them write it down. And then, there's your questions. So what does a dingo eat? And they will come out with the things they think it eats. Well, it eats, I don't know, meat or plants or insects or mice, stuff like this. Just go around and let the kids brainstorm a little bit and throw out ideas to you. And finally, what color is it in? Okay, they're not seeing the photographs, they're not seeing the questions, they're just listening to you. So you're interacting with them. There we go, there's our dingo. Once you've been through that, okay, dingo. This is a dingo. Dingoes eat small mammals and lizards. Dingoes are orange. Okay, I guess they are. This comes from Gabby's presentation from last year, which was very good. Okay, notice here we put a background to make it look a little bit more interesting. Okay, with some fish or something, fossil, something like that. So there we are. We go from this, which we're asking. The kids are only seeing the photo, and then we're going to the complete. There we are. Next time we've got an emu. What is this? Same process. What is this? Okay, it's an emu. Can you say it? Is it a pigeon? Is it a dove? Is it a chicken? Is it a duck? Okay, no, it's an emu. Okay, so we want them to say emu. And again, can we spell it? What color? What does an emu eat? Okay. And then what they're seeing, the full version there. Okay, so we've got that with the dingo, we've got that with the emu. We've got the Tasmanian devil, we've got the kookaburra, we've got, okay, the only thing I wanted to check, how do you say kookaburra in Spanish? Don't do this. I don't want you to be interacting with the kids in Spanish. Okay? It is a lot more enriching if you only interact in English. So we don't want this kind of question. So again, we've got the kookaburra, and then we've got time to play a game. Here we go. Time to play a game. Each person needs to get in a group of 2 people with somebody who sits at another table. What? Well, if they read this, they're like, what? Okay, it's really difficult. Okay. You need a piece of paper. All right, piece of paper and a pen. Okay. I would ask some questions. Interesting. Okay, the group with the most correct answers wins. Okay. Let's just say, get in group with 10. Okay. And you don't need to explain who wins. That's obvious. Okay. And I can tell you, when you're with kids in a classroom situation or any other situation, one of the biggest time wastes for you is getting them in groups. Okay, so if you ask them, how can you form groups of 4? Forget it. You've got 20 minutes when they're, asking who should be with who, and they start crying because somebody wants to be with their friend and their friend doesn't want to be with them, and somebody, and it brings out a lot of ugly behavior from kids. So it's much better for you just to go along and say 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2. Okay. Everybody with a 1 is in with group 1. Everybody with a 2 is in group 2, and get straight on with the activity. Or if you want 5 groups, it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. You've all done this playing sports. Okay. So get in groups or whatever. Here's a piece of paper and a pencil. Going to ask you some questions. Okay. Don't show them the questions. Ask them the questions with no text first. What is the name of this animal? What does a kookaburra eat? What color is a kangaroo? What does a Tasmanian devil eat? What is the name of this animal? Okay, 5 questions. After you've asked them the questions, and you can see that they've written down the answers on a piece of paper, then show them the questions. Okay, repeat the questions again. And just give them time to make sure they've written down their answers. Give them the answers. Okay. And that's it. That's the end. Okay. That's the end of your presentation. And that's how it works. As you can see, that takes about 20 minutes, 20 to 30 minutes to give a full presentation. Presentations are normally given to the whole group. Okay. Normally given to the whole group, not with the smaller groups. And finally, how much can you remember? So we're going back to the original. If you've got time, you ask them to have a look. Remember, put the pencils away, put the pieces of paper away. Right, you've got 2 minutes to have a look at this photograph or this picture. Look at all the different things you can see. Right, yeah, I can see an emu and a kangaroo, and there's a dingo, and there's probably a kookaburra somewhere in there. Yeah, okay, I'm looking. Okay, remove the picture. Don't let them see the picture, and see how many things they can write down if they're old enough. And if not, how many things they can call out to you, and you write it up on the board. Okay, you can write it up on the board, make a list of all the things they've seen, and then put the picture back on, and they can check, and you can check with them. Okay, so they can see the different things. Right, and that is our presentation, and that is the structure of our presentations. So the presentation becomes interactive. Okay, so anyway, you try it out. It might not be it might be difficult the first time. You might not know what to say. The kids might be too excited to listen to you. But anyway, these are things you're going to be able to use time and time again. So that's it. That's what I wanted to talk about. Actually, it was about the presentation. So I'm going to stop recording.